commanders cry out, "Watch it, baby, the commanders are coming." This is the road to Umuahia, the last big town still in Biafran hands. Colonel Ajukwu's final refuge, where he's reported to have a bunker and ready to defend to the very last. Federal troops marching on down the road. It has to be on foot. The retreating Biafrans have dug huge holes and felled big trees across the road. And from now on, before those holes can be filled, there's got to be a lot of foot slogging.
Take cover.
Now the road to Umuahia is hotting up. Ahead of us, about 400 yards up the ridge, a detachment of Biafran troops.
In the quiet heart of Umuahia lies a place where silence speaks louder than words, where rusted tanks, cracked helmets, and hand-built bombs whisper stories of a war many would rather forget. But not today, because today I am opening those doors to Nigeria's past. Raw, real, and buried in iron and memories. Welcome to the National War Museum. This isn't just history, it is a haunting reminder of how far we've come and the tolls it had on us. Inside, you will find relics from both sides of the battlefield. Biafran innovations, Nigerian military gear and stories that were never told in school. Why does it matter? It matters because a nation that forgets its past risks repeating it. This museum reminds us of what division costs and how unity is always worth fighting for. Stepping into the museum, the first thing you see isn't flashy. No digital screens, no fancy displays, just glass cases, faded photographs, and the weight of real history staring back at you. Every corner holds a story. Every object, whether it is a soldier boot or a rusted rifle, has been touched by the hands of someone who lived through the war. Before the guns and the bombs, warfare in Nigeria was a matter of bravery, strategy, and craftsmanship. The traditional warfare gallery takes you far beyond the Civil War. Here we were greeted by spears with carved handles, animal-hide shields, war drums that once echoed across battlefields, and also ritual marks worn not just for combat but for power.
The sling. Then they also use them to ignite fire, and the soldiers then use them to grind their food stuff. From there they start making the weapons made of metal. These are minor pictures of the Sapiens, what they look like. Metal swords used by the people in the ancient times. In some part of the east, like in Suka, in some part of the north, like Sokoto, Bauchi. These are used by people in the Abia State. Then we have spears, lances, and javelin.
Each artifact tells a different story, from the Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa, Tifi, and more. You realize that war wasn't just about killings. It was about protection, territory, and pride. What struck me the most were the handmade weapons, designed not with machines but with minds, sharpened by survival and tradition. This gallery doesn't just show you how people fought. It shows you why they fought and what they were fighting to protect. These weren't just tools of war. They were works of art forged in fire and spirit. As I walked through the displays of ancient weapons, I felt like I was standing in the minds of blacksmiths who were both artists and warriors. Blades curved like crescent moons, arrows tipped with bones and stones, spears balanced with precision. Each one serves as a piece of someone's survival story. It made me think of how much knowledge we've lost. How many of these techniques passed from father to son are now just silent objects behind glasses. Here in this room, history isn't a textbook. It is iron, wood, sweat, and legacy. Long before colonial powers drew borders on maps, the people of this land had their own empires, armies, and codes of war. The gallery whispers legends of the Benin warriors who carved fear into the hearts of invaders, of the Yoruba kingdoms where war chiefs led with drums and divination, and of the first Igbo resistance, where battles were fought not just with weapons, but with spirits and strategies. Warfare wasn't just physical, it was cultural. Every tribe had its war songs, its battle dress, and its sacred rituals. Some believed in charms, others trusted in the gods of iron and thunder. Standing here, I realized these weren't savage battles. These are organized campaigns which are strategic, spiritual, and sophisticated. This is the history they don't always teach you, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. Stepping into the Armed Forces Gallery, it feels like walking into the heartbeat of Nigeria's military history. The space is completely tidy, respectful, and heavy with legacy. Here, the wall speaks, lined with uniforms, faded dispatches, medals, and portraits of men who carried the weight of the nation on their shoulders. The gallery traces Nigeria's military evolution starting from the colonial West African frontier, fierce to the roles of an independent Nigerian army, navy, and air force. You will see the birth of modern command, the formation of battalions, the forging of identities, and the transition from foreign rule to national pride. Front and center are the trailblazers whose names helped shape the military in Nigeria. General Johnson Agoyeransi, the first Nigerian head of state and a calm, calculated figure during turbulent times. Colonel Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu, who led Biafra and whose presence looms large in both controversy and charisma. General Yakubu Gowon, Nigeria's youngest head of state, who led the country through the Civil War. Major General Benjamin Adekunle, famously known as the Black Scorpion, whose fearless tactics still echo through the stories of veterans. General Murtala Mohammed, bold, reform-minded, gone too soon but never forgotten. General Sani Abacha, General T.Y. Danjuma, General Ibrahim Babangida, names tied to coups, commands, and complex legacies. Then there is the Nigeria Air Force. Its presence is sleek but solid. Flight suits, aircraft schematics, and insignias tell of the days when our power became a key player. Here you learn about trailblazers like Air Marshal Ibrahim Afar, Nigeria's first Air Force pilot and Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Paul Dike, and Air Marshal Alex Bade, who later became Chief of Defense Staff. Each section of this gallery honors a branch of service, but what ties them together is sacrifice, courage, and command. The Civil War experience. Before the bullets flew, before the bombs fell, the country was already bleeding. The Nigerian Civil War didn't start overnight. It began with deep ethnic tensions, political instabilities, and a chain of bloody events. The 1966 military coup, led mostly by Igbo officers, toppled the government, and in its aftermath, northern leaders were assassinated. The counter-coup that followed turned the nation upside down. Then came the massacres. Thousands of Igbos killed in northern Nigeria, entire families slaughtered, trains of refugees fleeing back east. And when Colonel Odumegwu Ojukwu declared the eastern region as an independent Republic of Biafra, the country broke into half. What followed was 3 years of hell. For Biafran soldiers, many of them students, farmers and boys barely out of school, the war was a desperate stand for survival, fighting with handmade rifles, scarce ammunition, and barefoot resolve. They built weapons from scrap, turned buses into tanks, and wrote their own war manuals. But hunger was their fairest enemy. The food blockade starved the region. Children died by the thousands. Hospitals ran without medicine. The world watched and often did nothing. On the Nigerian side, the soldiers faced a different kind of pain. Long marches through hostile territory, booby-trapped roads, ambushed in the forests. Many believed they were fighting to keep the nation whole, but unity came at a brutal cost. Villages were bombed, homes touched, civilians caught in the crossfire. Even commanders broke down. Some soldiers wrote letters home begging their families not to remember them as killers. In the end, over 1 million lives were lost, many of them innocent. This war wasn't just a political conflict, it was a heartbreak, a national trauma, a warning echoing through generations. And here at the museum, through every relic and every sacred object, you feel it, not just the war, but the weight of what it costs. Biafran survival and strategy. They say necessity is the mother of invention, but in Biafra, necessity birthed raw genius. Imagine a nation barely a few months old, cut off from the world, surrounded by enemies, and abandoned by global powers, yet somehow still standing, still fighting. This wasn't just war. This was survival at its most extreme. In this gallery, you will see madness turned into methods. Weapons forged in village blacksmith huts, rocket launchers made from iron pipes, bombs built in garages. Biafran scientists, young, underfunded and under siege, created their own research agency. They called it RAFF, the Biafran Organization of Research and Production. They manufactured everything from armored cars to chemical warfare agents. Think about it. With no fuel, they processed crude oil by hand. No medicine, they brewed antibiotics from herbs and tree barks. You will even find remnants of the infamous Ogbunigwe, a homemade bomb, so deadly and precise it left Nigerian troops stunned. That is local technology at war level scale. The Biafran Air Force, it shouldn't have existed at all, but it did. Tiny planes piloted by fearless men launched surprise raids on federal bases. One of their bombers, literally a crop duster, rigged to kill. And the brains behind it, men like Colonel Ojukwu, who juggled diplomacy, military command and internal politics all at once. Major Joseph Achuizi, the fearless Hannibal of Biafra, leading battles by day, strategizing by night. General Madiebo, a tactician who turned retreat into resistance. But the most incredible soldiers weren't just in uniforms. They were the civilians, mother boiling cassava peels for soup, children carrying secret messages through forests, entire communities relocating overnight just to dodge air raids. The hunger was unrelenting. The bombings daily, yet somehow they kept going. This wasn't just a rebellion. This was brain, brawn, and brutal hope against impossible odds. You don't walk through this gallery, you feel it. The aftermath, what the war left behind. The guns may have gone silent in 1970, but the echoes of the war still shake the soul of Nigeria. Because when a country fights itself, nobody truly wins. This gallery doesn't just show bombs anymore. It shows scars, the kind that don't bleed but never stop aching. After the ceasefire was declared, millions of Biafrans walked out of the shadows, malnourished, broken, and homeless. Families returned to villages that no longer existed. Entire towns were wiped from the map. But perhaps the most haunting relic of the aftermath is silence. For years, the war was something people whispered about. Pain was passed down quietly like heirlooms. This museum dares to break that silence. It reminds us that the war didn't end in 1970. It lived on in every displaced child, every shattered dream, and every corner of Nigeria still ailing today. Yet, there is also resilience here. A reminder that Nigeria didn't die in that war. It hurt, it fractured, but it lived. And now, generations later, we come here not just to remember what was lost, but to understand what must never be repeated. The outdoor exhibit. Here, under the open sky, the silence is louder because now you are face to face with the giants of war. Real machines that once rode through cities, cruised defenses, and chased dreams of victory. Lined up like steel ghosts are tanks with dented hulls, shattered tracks, and bullet scars that tell their own stories. That massive artillery gun, it once shelled enemy positions from miles away. Today, it sits still, pointing nowhere, yet heavy with memories. You will find rusted fighter jets used by the Nigerian Air Force, sleek silver beasts that once tore through Biafran skies, leaving destruction in their wake. Then there's the Biafran ingenuity on full display, makeshift armored vehicles made from buses and bulldozers, retrofitted with steel plates and machine gun mounts. It is raw, rugged, revolutionary, proof that when resources failed, creativity stepped up. Standing among them, you feel small, but not because of their size, because of their stories. Each one was once a symbol of power, of fear, of resistance. As you walk between them, it hits you. This isn't just a military graveyard, it's a classroom. A reminder that no matter how mighty the machine, war always ends the same way, with loss, with lessons, and with history watching.
It was used by Nigerian troops against the Biafrans, but later the Biafrans captured it from them and used it against them till the war ended. Then we have this one is the panhard. The panhard ammo. This is a 40 millimeter marker used by Nigerian troops against the Biafrans, but later the Biafrans captured it from them at Uguta in Imo State. They nicknamed it Uguta Boy, and then used it against the Nigerian troops for some time. Then later the Nigerian troops knocked it out using anti-tank. This one is an anti-tank gun or bazooka. Anti-tank gun or bazooka. This is one of the improvised explosives locally. This one is flying Ogbunigwe. What they used to load up here is sharp stones, sharp nails, sharp stones. That's sharp stones, sharp nails, sharp iron, gunpowder, sharp bottles.
Aircrafts. These were the kings of the sky, fast, loud, and deadly. and here they are now grounded forever, but still commanding respect. The warplanes at the National War Museum aren't just aircraft, they are war stories with wings. That jet in front of you, a Mikoyan MiG-17, once part of the Nigerian Air Force area fleet, capable of streaking across the sky at over 1,000 km/h. Sleek, sharp, intimidating, its role used to shape the earth below. Next to it, the rugged Ilyushin bomber, a flying beast that dropped payloads on rebel strongholds. Inside, cramped cockpits and manual controls tell you this wasn't easy flying. These were missions fueled by courage, desperation, and pure adrenaline. But war wasn't one-sided in the air. The Biafrans, they didn't have jets, but they had guts. They turned crop dusters into fighter planes. They launched surprise raids with modified light aircraft flown at night by fearless men in hand-sewn uniforms. The museum showcases the remains of their airborne warriors, bent propellers, broken fuselage. Each plane tells a different kind of story. Some were shot down, some ran out of fuel mid-air, some crashed deep in the forest and were dragged back here, piece by piece, to be remembered. This isn't just aviation history. It's a reminder of how the sky became a battlefield and how bravery once soared above the clouds. The war didn't just happen on land, it came by sea too. And here at the outdoor naval exhibit, you meet the silent guardians of Nigeria's water. The patrol boats, gunboats, and sea cruisers that once cut through rivers like sharks, hunting prey. Parked now on dry land, these hulking vessels look like stranded beasts, but back then, they were the eyes and ears of the nation's coastline. Inside these crafts, sailors braved mud and bullets. They faced ambushes in the mangrove swamps, sabotaged missions, torpedoed threats, even crocodile-infested rivers. So here they are, the unsung heroes of the river war. Steel hulls that once sliced through conflicts, now lying still but never forgotten. Climbing its deck and you still feel it, the strength, the silence, the weight of history beneath your feet. Some say this ship never sank, not in war and not in spirit. It survived and now it stands anchored in a museum, a monument to a generation that fought on land, sea and sky. This is more than a big ship. It's the last sea titan of a war that tried to divide a nation, and a reminder that true strength doesn't fade, it just rests.
So the naval officer.
The shooter.
That is a rescue boat.
Yes, sir.
Engine rotating. They have the
Teaching. These captains.
they adjust it for me in case it's
For aircraft, Abi.
do it the other way down. The other way is easier. Of what the military head of state then refused. You understand now?
Yes.
Denied him that because assuming if they had agreed, maybe they would have pulled out. There wouldn't have been any war, or if the Biafran leader didn't bring out the idea of pulling out from the country, there wouldn't have been. That's the reason. I'm just telling you some of the reasons why
The word.
why that war took place. It's just disagreement. His refusal to recognize Yakubu Gawan's government, and also because of the Igbos were being killed in the north. Then after that first coup, the Northerners were angry and started killing Igbos in the north. So, and also the refusal of General Yakubu to honor that Aburi agreement. There was this agreement they had in one African country. I've forgotten that. So these are some of the.
These ships were used here.
This ship was used in Bonny.
River State.
River State by Nigerian Navy.
Bonny Island.
What we were told about this ship was that we were told that the Biafrans later captured it. We were told that the Biafrans later captured it. No, then I wasn't born. I know none of you here was born that day. So, any other question, Chairman?
Double Chief, your question.
Because this is the
question. I want to snap picture.
Final reflection. The Nigerian Civil War wasn't just a battle between bullets. It was a clash of identity, of pride, of politics, and of humanity. And here in Umuahia, where the echoes of that war still live, you are reminded of a brutal truth that peace is fragile, unity is expensive, and history, if ignored, repeats. So as you walk out of the museum gate and into the sunlight, you don't just carry photos or videos. You carry memories, you carry respect, you carry a responsibility to tell the story so that no generation forgets what division can cost. This isn't just a war museum, it is a mirror, and for a few unforgettable moments, it made you look deep into the soul of a nation. The Nigerian Civil War left deep scars on lands, hearths, and history. But beyond the pain and destruction, it also left us with crucial lessons. Firstly, division weakens a nation. When brother fights brother, the true enemy is the fracture in unity. Secondly, the cost of war is never just measured in casualties or destroyed cities. It is counted in lost potentials, broken families, and generations haunted by trauma. Thirdly, resilience can come from the most desperate places. The Ogbunigwe bomb, the improvised tanks, the guerrilla tactics, they were born from creativity under pressure, a testament to human will to survive. Fourthly, reconciliation is hard but necessary. The peace that followed wasn't just a ceasefire, it was a beginning of healing, rebuilding trust, and rewriting history together. Finally, memory matters. Museums like this one keep the stories alive, not to glorify war, but to remind us of its price and the urgent need to choose peace. Visiting the National War Museum is more than just a trip. It is a journey into the heart of Nigeria's past, its struggles, and its resilience.
It was very, very interesting coming down here from Imo State down to Umuahia. At least we're able to experience what happened during the war. Although we are not there while the war occurred, but at least we're able to experience and gain more knowledge. It's nice being here.
Chief, how was the experience?
Well, it was nice being here, and I'm happy to see a place like this being preserved by the Abia State government and for reference purposes. And I'm happy coming all the way from Cross River State to see a place like this still in existence. And I pray that the government continue to preserve this place for the upcoming generation to come here and also have a knowledge of what happened during the war from 1967 to 1970. So I'm happy. I'm very happy. Thank you very much.
My experience was good. Yeah, actually it's nice and it's interesting. Yeah, this is my first time of coming to see a big museum like this. Yeah, thank God I learned a lot from the instructor that was teaching us. Yeah, thank you.
So it was a great experience, and I want to say thank you to Full Studios for bringing this idea. You know, he told us that there's a place called the National War Museum in Abia State. I should just come check it out, and it was a very nice experience. We all enjoyed ourselves, and you know, it's a privilege. You know, all thanks to Full Studios, and it's innovative.
Thank you,
Man.
sir.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you enjoyed this vlog, hit the like button, subscribe for more travel videos from Nigeria and beyond, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep honoring history. Gracias mucho, amigas. Bye.